Greg, Chris, thanks for making the time. I know this is a busy period for both of you, so I appreciate you sitting down with me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks you very much.
Yeah. So early days with you at Distalmotion, and it's been a whirlwind coming out of the gate. What are the observations in the early days?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, to go back to our first discussion, the maturity of the company has been an unbelievably good surprise. The viability of the product. So, I've now had time to spend time in surgery, to see it work, to see where we delight customers. We're now close to 1,000 cases in Europe across general surgery, gynecology, and urology. We continue to expand from a customer perspective, although we're being very deliberate how we do that. So, yeah, I mean, very, very pleased there. I think the second thing is the team. Just recognition that we have an incredible R&D team, an incredible regulatory team. We have, they put in place a great strategy. So I came in skiing downhill, which was great. So skiing uphill's a lot harder than down.
Yeah.
So.
And Chris, early days for you as well. And you and I have known each other for a couple of years. And whenever I would tap you on the shoulder in the past, you'd have a look at something and say, I got to wait for the right run. This is the period in time. What made this the right one, and what made this guy potentially the right guy?
Oh, well, I think it starts with that. I think people, very important to me. Greg and I have known each other for some time. I knew when he looked at this opportunity, there had to be something here. I'd heard of Distalmotion, but really it took Greg's ability to come over here and show that he was ready to lead this organization and take it to the next level that really piqued my initial interest. I think as we talk more about the technology and what it's enabling for more access to minimally invasive robotic surgery for more patients, irregardless of geography, site of care, or procedure indication, is really, really exciting. And that really is a testament to what Greg said earlier around the people and what in Lausanne, in Switzerland, what they've been able to create with our founder, with Michael Friedrich, his passion around the technology, the team that he initially put together. Everybody is just, the oars are all in the water and rowing in the same direction, and that's something that really attracted me initially to the opportunity, but then of course as I dive deeper into the technology and what it's going to enable, it just makes it that much more exciting.
Yeah, and that's impressive because both you gentlemen have substantial backgrounds in surgical robotics, ortho, soft tissue, and others. So it's always great to hear that it's because the rush to the door to get into robotics by people who don't know robotics, you see a lot of mistakes happen.
Yeah.
Right, on career choices.
Right.
Yet both of you could be and have been very selective on where you go. One of the terms that keeps on coming up when we talk about Distalmotion is the stratification of robotics. Right patient, right location, right equipment. And so how are you both of you thinking about this when it comes to Distalmotion and Dexter?
Yeah, so I think, again, this is why I ran at this opportunity. I really believe to empower robotics, you have to initiate new sites of care, you have to initiate new geographies, you have to initiate new procedures. And when you look at the core procedures that we just talked about, 85% of those procedures or more, depending on the geography, aren't being done with a robot. And that really doesn't have anything to do with the technology or the adoption of the technology. It has to do with the accessibility of the technology. So to me, Dexter Distalmotion has a great solution for this. Whether you're talking about the actual form factor of the robot, it's small in nature, the ability to move into an ASC outpatient facility, or from a financial perspective, the ability to offer nimble financial options and allow people to do things maybe that they haven't done before because of financial barriers. So we're really excited. I think we have a strong belief, and we're proving that in Europe right now, that this can be used across multiple disciplines in a really big way. And using robotics for what it's intended for, which is dissection, suturing, and working in confined space with wristed instruments, we can do all of that. So we're really excited to get to the U.S. and demonstrate that as well.
Chris is leading that commercial effort, and here being a GM in the U.S. market. What insights does that provide you, even though it's a different market in the U.S., and what are you thinking about?
Yeah, so I think as Greg mentioned, I think the ability to expand indications and provide more, robotic surgery to more patients, regardless of site of care, is really important. The initial experience in Europe has been robust, and it's been great. And what it has proven in verticals like general surgery and gynecology is that yes, we can do those bread and butter procedures with Dexter. We can do them with great clinical outcomes, but we can do it in a way that allows simplicity, accessibility, and continued excellence. So, not only are we going to delight our customers and treat our customers in a way that is centered on the patient, but also on their experience, we're going to do it in a way that allows them to enjoy working with the technology. We have to be careful when we incorporate technology that sometimes it's overly burdensome to the operator and to their staff. Of equal importance, of course, and if not more, as a patient outcome. But we really find that this technology has the ability to interact well within the workflow of the surgeon as well as the staff. And so we're excited to see where that's going to go in some of these initial procedures in general surgery and eventually gynecology.
The form factor of Dexter is really interesting because it's really going to be the first soft tissue surgical robotic platform where the surgeon can dial in or dial out where they want to be at that moment in time and not give up their favorite device, their favorite visualization platform, their favorite stapler. How has that resonated so far in Europe, and how will it translate to the US?
Yeah, so I think one, and Chris mentioned it, simplicity. So, the difficult part about technology sometimes is the adoption of that technology, right? So the learning curve, how do you implement it into your practice? I think Dexter removes all the barriers of that because you're not going far away from your core laparoscopic principles. The other thing, from an accessibility perspective, you have connectivity with the patient. So you're at the console, you are still sterile, and you can move back and forth to the patient, which again then enables you to use your favorite energy device, the best stapler of, the stapler of the surgeon's preference at that particular site of care for that patient. So, again, this open concept, this open platform concept, we're going to be really good in robotics and instrumentation, and our belief is, the surgeon, we're allowing the surgeon to choose what's best for the patient across all those other verticals or all those other product categories. So it's definitely a unique. I think all of the other devices on the market today are closed. They are trying to push to master all of those things, and I can tell you, just being in the space for a while, that's very difficult to do.
Yeah. 2024 and 2025 is shaping up as a soft tissue surgical robotics shootout.
Yeah.
Right? There's a couple coming to market. There's two in market right now, one really dominant in market. Just as an opinion, independent of Distalmotion and Dexter, what does the 5-year vision look like from your seat, and Chris, your seat, of soft tissue robotics? And again, going back to that stratification mindset.
Yeah. We talked about empowering robotics and on a procedural basis, but I really believe that the market will be stratified. And so I really think that there's going to be a stratification of technologies that enable the surgeon, or assist the surgeon, or in our case, allow them to use robotics, I think in a simple and easy way that integrates into their own workflow. So to me, there'll be multiple offerings. I think there is no doubt from a market perspective, just based on how people are trained today, that robotics is going to become more and more prevalent in the categories where we play. But I think that you'll have optionality, right? Because you don't always need all of the bells and whistles and all of the data and AI and all of the feature sets that maybe are offered on the most complex systems for every case.
And complexity adds to setup time, downtime, maintenance, cost, right? It adds to it regardless. It's a 1-to-1, maybe even more than a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
So you've seen, obviously, platinum standards. You've seen where the industry's gone. You were insinuated into that. Where do you see it going in 5 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Greg. I think that certainly Dexter is going to be the platform that can enable simple and complex surgery. So that's going to be exciting to see as we bring the technology to market, especially in the U.S. I think information sharing is important. We've got some initial partnerships, and we'll extend it to other partnerships in that arena with companies like Proximie and others that will allow us to look at the digitization, the aggregation of data, the kinematics, excuse me, that others before us are starting to look at as well. I think that, in addition to helping augmenting training, is going to be really important. So as Greg mentioned earlier, a lot of these teaching institutions, they're certainly coming out, they're learning robotic surgery. However, we feel Dexter is going to be facilitating for the resident as they're learning the principles of surgery and how it fits into their workflow, as opposed to being more focused on learning the robot and the technology. They're going to be able to bring Dexter in as a system that has them mainly focused on what they're there to do in terms of learning surgery and the procedures that they're being trained to perform. So I think we're going to look to be a partner in that as we move forward, working within training institutions as well.
It's fascinating because we've seen this with other categories of medical devices, is people are backing off the complexity and going more towards a pragmatic approach. And some of that has to do with economics, some of that has to do with adoption rates and also sites of care. So it's really interesting to reduce that complexity to something that may be even more appropriate for the masses in the number of cases we have.
Yeah, well, I think I mentioned this the first time we talked about Dexter, which it's not easy to make something simple. Yeah. I mean, so simple doesn't mean it's not complex in the way that it was developed. So but it's, I think, a winner to create something simple when you talk about, as Chris mentioned, training, implementation, not burdening the staff or requiring additional staff to run a device. Those are all things that we have to really, I think, fight against as industry. We shouldn't be creating a burden for a hospital or a surgeon or their staff. We should be enabling them to be better, to be more nimble, to be more efficient. So those are themes I think you'll see. But again, when you look at good technology, it doesn't matter what industry you look at, whether it's a self-driving car or an iPhone. They do things. The development does things to make you more efficient, to make you better, to make it easier. And that's really our theme in Lausanne, is to continue to drive advanced technology, but to make it simple. And simplicity is a big theme for us.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for your time today. I know you're both very busy, and I'll be looking forward to the path and the journey forward with Distalmotion and Dexter.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Joe.
Joe.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
I'm Joe Mullings. Appreciate your time. Be well.